Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of my Dungeon Boss Tactical Series. Today we are taking a look at the Beast team. This is a particular team that I've gotten a bunch of requests on in terms of some basic analysis and some strategy, so I thought I would look into them a little bit, see what sort of viability we have as far as playing with beasts. So we went through the dwarves and we saw that the dwarves actually had a pretty good synergy with each other. Based on which ones you actually brought along. The beasts, while they do have decent synergy, so far I don't think are quite all there yet as far as really being a formidable team to use. They can be used in quite a variety when you're running campaign dungeons and such like that, but as far as PvP goes, there's a little bit of a nuance there that you have to kind of play around with. And actually the only decent place they actually do shine is probably more so in PvP offense than PvP defense. That's actually going to be the next video. So I'm going to start with just some regular synergies, and we'll talk about some usage in regular campaign dungeons and boss mode dungeons. So before we get into that, we need to look at who the actual beasts are. So Torchy is our first one. We scroll through here. Lupina is a beast. Bulbous is a beast. And then Grognog is a beast. Leonidas is a beast. Pygnius is a beast. Julius is a beast. And Jabberjaw is a beast. I think that is the last of them. And that appears so. So one of the main glaring differences between the beast teams and the other so-called great teams. Zom is sort of the leader of the undead. Bramble is sort of the leader of the goblins. And Valken is sort of the leader of the dwarves. But with the beasts, we don't really have that person who is a hardcore leader of the beast. Now, a while back they did have a skin for Julius that was like Jungle King Julius. But if we look at Julius, he's not really the leader, if you will. And maybe what we're really truly lacking as far as a beast goes is a beast healer. And that's kind of where the synergies drop off as far as using a full beast team in campaign mode. It's just not really that viable because we don't have that healer along that's going to actually give us the heals that we need. So at some point we have to basically say, okay, we can use 3 beasts, but who's going to be the 4th? And once you get to that point, it's just a matter of, okay, so I can just pick any 4th person basically, make it a healer probably, and then use some beasts for the synergies. If you look at Julius, he's certainly a good one to have because of his stats. He has the increased health for beasts, which, in my opinion, is one of the better buffs to have. When we run undead and we get a health buff there, that's always good. When we run the dwarves and we get the health buff, that's good. This is ultimately what keeps you alive. All of the beasts have this pack tactics, which basically means they have a chance to retaliate. I don't know what the exact % chance is, but it's certainly not very high. It's certainly not 50-50. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more auto-attacking in dungeons, and I just don't see that as of yet. But every beast has that, and every beast also has some sort of a pack mentality here. So what else about Julius could make him worthwhile then? We have this other little green trait here. Nature Guard. Increased defense for 15% for all nature allies. So that pretty much strong arms you into saying, okay, if I'm going to go with Julius on my team, you kind of almost have to take Bulbous along with you because he's another beast and he's a nature ally. He's going to benefit from this. If you don't bring Bulbous, then it's kind of, well, maybe we could bring Jabberjaw along too. But if we go out to Jabberjaw, see if I can find him. I may have already passed him. Let's go down to the bottom where he belongs. There he is. So Jabberjaw, like I said, he is also a beast, so he's going to have the tactics. Here's his pack tactics. And then his skill is increase crit chance for beasts. So crit chance is not very hard to come by, especially when you're max level. You can usually acquire this almost everywhere. So getting extra crit, well, yes, you can boost up beyond the 50% threshold. That's not really what the beasts are all about. So combine that with the fact that his base stats are weak sauce. So I wouldn't rely on Jabberjaw for much personally. So he's not going to be a very viable one. Whereas on the other hand, if we go up and look at Bulbous, if my scrolling wants to cooperate, I swear some people have reported this to Dungeon Boss, and responsiveness is supposed to be getting better. Why would we pick Bulbous over anybody else? For one, he's epic. So if he gets his epic to trigger, it's extra attacks on the actual group, so that's good. Plus his epic increases defense and attack, which is nice. It just makes him overall a pretty solid hero. Plus he's armored, so he's tough. And then his pack mentality, if you will. Notice there's nothing that looks like it's a beast thing. He has increase for water allies, which really that's going to benefit only one person. We'll get to that in a second. And then we have a little bit of health each turn, but we do have the pack tactics. So where we're at so far is Julius raises health and he raises defense for green, and then Bulbous comes along and he increases health for warrior allies. So I thought it said water, but it was warrior. So he doesn't really help Julius there, but like I said, he's tough. The other main person that I consider basically the heart of the beast team. Man, the scrolling is just pathetic tonight. Or maybe I was just at the top of the list. That kind of makes me look stupid. So here's Grognog. Beast, Ogre, Warrior. We just saw that with Bulbous, he increases for Warriors. Grognog is a beast, so he gets a little boost as well. Here's his pack tactics. And then what does he get? He gets large and in charge. It's not necessarily a beast thing, but it's raise health for each beast by 30%. So 30% here, and then plus the 25% I think that Julius gave, and you got quite a health boost. And then you got Bulbous. So where does that end up taking us? Basically, you have a team that's pretty tough, but we don't have a healer, and none of these guys are going to heal unless you load them down with pretty much all vampirics. Even then, we're talking a small amount of health. So the best person to put on there is either going to be Yasmin, or it's going to be Nub Nub, depending on which one is tougher for you. Personally, just for farming and testing out the beast teams, I had been running this one all day, just doing Permafrost with a beast team. So Yasmin, and then Grognog, and Bulbous, and Julius. And it's been pretty much flawless the entire time. Yasmin's max epic, Bulbous is max epic, Grognog has decent runes on him, Julius doesn't have anything on him, and none of these guys are dying. So if you just watch them go through this, it may not look spectacular. It's certainly not the crit fest that the goblins bring about. But these guys are so much tougher than the goblins. They can take a hit and keep on going. And that's what makes them particularly useful. Now, one of the benefits of the beasts is they're incredibly interchangeable from what I've seen. The reason that I picked these three is they have the tightest synergy together than any of the other ones. But the thing is, you can mix and match any of them based on the dungeon. So if we're going into a dungeon that's going to be working against, water, or working against green, maybe we want to bring along Torchy, for example. Torchy has a room clearing epic that he can unleash at any time, and then maybe we want to bring Pygnius as well. But basically, I've just been auto running this one, and it's not, it hasn't been giving me any trouble at all. I don't think. Even Julius with no runes, I don't think anybody's died all day when running this. That's largely in part due to Yasmin's epic, like she just did there. So when it comes to running dungeons, I mean, this is obviously a good one, but you do have to keep in mind that if you're doing a fire dungeon, obviously bringing both Bolvis and Julius is not going to be a good idea. But Yasmin and Grognog are going to be solid additions there. So what I'd end up doing is I would swap out both Bolvis and Julius for Pigneus and Torchy to match a fire dungeon. So as far as beasts that you're not going to be using, personally, Leo, he has his niche in PvP, but as far as a dungeon, I really wouldn't use Leo that much. Jabberjaw, until he gets a little bit better of a buff, he's not really beneficial anywhere. He dies very easy in PvP. He dies very easy in dungeons. It's just not overly useful as far as I'm concerned. Grognog seems to me like he's almost a must for any beast team, and part of that is because the synergies and the abilities that you're using as beasts work really well with him. For example, if you use Pigneus, which I do like to use Pigneus a lot, is he has the Hog Wild trait. If you get Hog Wild with Grognog, you can get some serious attack power with him, and I would personally take that with the guaranteed multiple attacks on that Hog Wild versus somebody like Julius, who's only going to give you a health bump. But if you take the dual health bump from Julius and Grognog, swap out Bolvis with somebody else, maybe somebody like Pigneus, then you get the Hog Wild attacking plus the bonus crit. That's not a bad idea. Or, like I said, you can swap out both Bolvis and Julius and bring in Torchy and Pigneus, because Torchy can do his room clearing epic in almost any dungeon. So as far as I guess beast teams go, there's really a number of combinations because there are a bunch of beasts, but like I said, you can really only use 3 beasts at a time if you're running a dungeon. I haven't tried to run any of these harder dungeons without a healer. Obviously, these guys can hit a little bit, and so they would slowly whittle down your heroes. I don't see a way that you'd be able to make it through an 8-room dungeon without a healer, in my opinion, unless you have some serious defensive power. And even in one like this here, I mean, who else could we bring? Bringing Torchy or Pigneus against a blue dungeon is not a good idea. I was running Pigneus with this team for a little while to see if the Hog Wild and the extra crit was beneficial to both Bolvis and Grognog, and while I was able to run through this dungeon very well, Pigneus died every single time at the mid-boss because it was a little bit slower fight, and that guy always got a couple of hits on him. He never died at the end boss because they died quick enough, but he always died in every single run. That's when I swapped him out for Julius, basically foregone the Hog Wild and the extra crit damage. So I guess if you're running a beast team, it would be these 3 beasts and then either Yasmin or Nub Nub, in my opinion. Now, this is obviously a dungeon where these guys would thrive in a little bit better because 2 of them have elemental advantage and 2 of them are elementally neutral, so it may not be the best benchmark. Plus, we also have to consider that I do have max epics on 2 of these guys and good runes on the 3rd, so just assuming that these guys are going to trounce anything they see may not necessarily be the case for you. So what we're also going to do after this, we're also going to take this team and we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to drop Julius and lose a little bit of health, but we're going to bring in Pigneus, and then we're going to run the legendary dungeon that's up right now. So again, these guys are doing their worst, but ultimately nobody's dying here. And they're just weathering the storm, partially because Grognog and Bolvis, they all have really good health and defense based on just their normal stats, plus the extra little bit of buffs too. We got a lot of health, a little bit extra defense, and then we just stomp through it. So the legendary dungeon that we're going to do, though, we're not going to auto run that one. I just want to show you that you can, if you play it smart, you can beat these dungeons even without let's say the legendary undead team. You can still beat teams. It's all a matter of putting in a little bit of work to get those epics. Bulbous, I went for his epic very, very quickly because at the time I didn't think I would ever be able to get him to 6 stars because his tokens are so hard to get. And actually, I still don't have him as 6 stars. I was going to use Aether to upgrade that. But I feel like Bulbous is very underused. He is a pretty tough hero, but it seems like so many people can kill him. And but that's a PvP concept, so we're not going to get into that. But we're able to burn through this one pretty easy. So let's go ahead and take a look at the legendary dungeon. Now, as far as legendary dungeons go, certainly this is not the most difficult of them. Not by any means. So take that for what it's worth. But a lot of people can burn through possessed tombs with one of the Cobalt and Kira speed teams. So we're going to dump Julius, bring in Pygneus instead. So Pygneus, remember, his main thing is he has the bonus crit, so everybody gets a higher crit damage than they normally do. He has the Hog Wild attack, and then the third often overlooked one is his Bestial Roar, which Bestial Roar would be even more potent if we did finally get a Beast Healer, because then we could get a massive Beast attack instead of just a large beast attack. But Bestial Roar is it's a attack buff, and then all the beasts actually attack. The downside to it is it takes forever to charge. It has a mega cooldown, and you really only get to use it maybe once or twice in a long dungeon. It takes half of this dungeon just for it to come up. So when we play this legendary dungeon, like I said, we're not going to try to auto run it. You could if you want, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you that if you just play it normally, it's a very easy dungeon to beat. So we'll just use our various abilities here. I like using Snow Day as often as possible because 1, it does a lot of damage, and 2, it's another nice passive for beasts. So we see that Grognog was able to get basically a Snow Day, or Bulbous was able to get a Snow Day buff, which basically has a chance to daze. You have to use these quick enough in order to make use of them. There's a nice little Hog Wild attack. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get out of this one with those Snow Days still intact, and so I can use it on the start of the next dungeon instead, or the next room. We just saw a revenge attack, if you actually saw that happen. So anytime those revenge attacks happen, you're sitting pretty good. So we made pretty quick work of that. So we'll do a basic attack with Grognog, and then Bulbous can do his attack, and he'll probably actually flat out kill them, just because he's tougher than them. So yeah, even Grognog is one-shotting a lot of those guys. We probably could do some auto running, and maybe let's just do that just for the sake of argument for the moment, up until the mid-boss. These guys here, they're extremely weak. They're a little bit of a nuisance that they keep coming back to life, but from what we see so far, they're not overly difficult. If you remember Pygneus from any of my boss mode runs, or even some of my other runs that I did, Pygneus doesn't have any runes on him, and he usually survives pretty well. So the only downside to not using skills, you can see that both Bulbous and Grognog are diseased. By itself, disease is not a huge issue. What it becomes as a problem is if any of these guys have intensified disease. That makes things a little bit rougher. If Yasmin does her part and cleanses, there we go, then disease isn't a problem. And it looks like everything's going pretty well. The nice thing about auto-attacking and just running through this like this is we let our skills build up, so that when we get to the individual boss fights, pretty much we have carte blanche is what we got. Anything we want, we got. That's going to allow us to use our Bestial Roar here. And actually, I know from experience that Snow Day just stomps this team anyways. We don't even really need to do anything. In fact, if we could guarantee who's going to be attacked, we could just auto run through this one too. But being that I don't have my runes fully decked out for this team, I'm not going to suggest doing an auto run or even try to auto run through the boss fights here. So this Grizzly Rampage, it's nice when guys are whittled down because you get an extra attack for each character death. So he kills him, kills him, kills him, doesn't kill him, but a couple extra attacks. And then we'll Bestial Roar for some more attacks. Get a double attack from Grognog. We get a Hogwild from Pygneus. And then it just turns into Stomp Fest, and we just carry on. Don't even need to use the Snow Day buff. We'll just keep on auto running. So, if you're interested in a beast team, like I said, this is definitely one of the good ones as well. I really like using Pygneus. I think he's also kind of underused like Bolvis, but the thing is, when you want to try and use beasts in PvP, there's just so little room that you have to almost pick certain heroes, and sometimes some of these guys just don't make the cut. Pygneus can be a real help in PvP sometimes when people are unsuspecting. But from my experience, beast teams are pretty easy to beat in PvP as long as you understand what's going on. That video is going to be probably either tomorrow or in 2 days. I think it's probably going to be in 2 days. But look for some PvP insight as far as the beasts go. As far as defense go, spoiler alert, it's not that great, but I'll cover some of the PvP pros and cons. It would probably be more beneficial for lower levels than it would be at higher. We actually got our first fatality here. Fortunately, I got one potion here. Alright, let's see if I can use it here. It was actually, I can't believe that Bolvis was the one that actually died, but those samurai guys are, those are the ones that hit harder. The rest of them are really nothing, so if you manually run it, kill the samurais and you'll be fine. So I kind of have to be careful now because I don't have any other way to bring guys back from the dead. So depending where I'm at and what this dungeon looks like, I'm gonna kill the samurai guys. So I go into the other room full power. So we will use our Snow Day. Now we can just auto run these guys, they're not a problem. And I don't even really need the Snow Day buff for the boss fight, but it is there, so. So, Pandemic Soul, he's really nothing. Another Pandemic Soul, and this little Xeris Reborn. And they all die actually pretty easy. They actually were a little underwhelming there. Maybe I should have used the Strike instead. But we're going to use Bestial Roar. Always love that. So Xeris is going to get a cheap shot on us. That's not unheard of. I've gone through and beat him up pretty good a couple of times. So, but even that, I mean, he really didn't do anything. So we're all diseased now, but we might be able to cleanse that just like that. So that's why Yasmin's so helpful. And then we'll use Strike and it'll kill them all. Strike is way more powerful than what that other one was because it's a physical attack. And we'll auto run to finish. And just like that, we're coming in just under 25 minutes as far as this goes. We'll see if we get a decent rune from this. My guess is probably not. But it just goes to show. I mean, you could probably throw some moderate runes on these guys and be good. I mean, the team saver is probably going to be Yasmin, in my opinion, because of her epic. You don't need max epic on Bolvis, but it certainly helps. So our reward was a couple etch bars, not really a lot to worry about, but it's nice to have those. So that is sort of my beast assessment as far as running dungeons. I don't have many other ones except for with situational situations really. So kind of take stock. I think Grognog is going to be your main beast all the way, and then the other two you can swap out with whatever the situation calls for. But personally, I think Yasmin's the best healer to bring along. Always start the fights with her, put her in the first spot so she always gets a chance to heal. Otherwise, those other guys might stomp through them a little bit quick and you don't get a chance to heal. That's why I would prefer her over Nub Nub, because if you do get a lot of kills quickly, Nub Nub doesn't get the chance to heal. So, if you have any other insights or things that you'd like to see that I didn't cover, I know I skipped some of the passives on the other beasts, but that's ultimately because they just weren't as useful. Let me know what you think, and then we will see you for the next video, which will be, like I said, the PvP aspects of the beast team. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.